Episode 1, The Bible in the Crypt. I should have never gone down there. The crypt smelled of damp stone and rotting incense, a place where time had long since stopped breathing. I was only looking for relics, forgotten chalices, scraps of parchment, anything worth adding to my research. But instead, I found it. It was lying on the altar, bound in blackened leather, its edges curled like burnt paper. No title, no markings. Yet the moment I touched it, the air in the crypt grew cold enough to sting my skin. I told myself it was just a book. When I opened the cover, the first verse stared back at me in ink that shimmered faintly, as though alive. And the Lord saw the blood upon your hands, and he remembered. My hands trembled. No one else could know about that. Not the accident, not the night I buried the truth beneath years of silence. I slammed the book shut, but as I turned to leave, I heard a faint sound, like a page turning by itself. I frowned. See, the Bible lay open again. Though I hadn't touched it, another line appeared, letter by letter, as if an invisible hand were writing in real time. Do not flee, child of guilt. You opened me. You must read me. The crypt was silent, but I swear I heard a voice behind those words, deep and steady, as if it spoke through the stone itself. I should have run. Instead, I read. Every verse changed as my eyes moved over it. Scripture I had memorized since seminary was replaced with words that bared my soul. My sins were not merely written, they were carved onto the page, each one sharper than the last. And God help me begin mentioning things I hadn't done yet. And when you betray her, she will weep not for you but for me. Who was her? I didn't know, but the words burned in my chest like prophecy. I staggered back, slamming the Bible shut again. This time, it didn't fight me. The leather cover seemed to breathe. Just once, like a living thing exhaling, I left the crypt with it in my arms. I should have left it there, because as I climbed the stairs back to the church above, the bell tower rang. Free slow tolls. The church had been abandoned for over 50 years, and yet, the bells were calling my name. Episode 2, The Verse That Called His Name. The bell should not have rung. I stood in the nave of the abandoned church, the Bible clutched so tightly in my hands that my knuckles turned white. Death swirled through the air, the only movement in a place where nothing had lived for decades. Then it happened again. Down, the sound rolled through the empty rafters like thunder trapped in a coffin. And beneath that sound, I heard my name, Elias. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't whispered. It was inside the bell's toll, hidden between the echoes, as if the sound itself had been shaped into my name. My breath came shallow. I turned to leave. That's when the Bible opened. No hands touched it. No one stirred the pages. But the cover flexed, and the spine cracked as it fell open to a verse I had never seen before. Fresh ink bled across the page like veins spreading through pale skin. Elias, do not turn away. You cannot run from what I have written for you. The letters writhe as I read them. I staggered back. I wanted to drop the book, to cast it into the shadows and run until my lungs burst. But my feet wouldn't move. Someone was holding me there. Unseen, the bell rang once more, and this time, the name wasn't just mine. I heard others down scenes of voices woven into the sound. Some I didn't know, some I did. One voice, though, frowned my blood. Father Matthew, my old confessor, dead 10 years now? Elias, his voice murmured within the bell, the same soft tone he used in the confessional. You never told me everything, did you? The Bible's pages turned violently, as though an invisible hand was rifling through it. Then it stopped. A single verse stared back at me. Your sins are not forgiven. Not yet. And below it, scrawled in ink darker than the rest. Read, and I will show you how you will pay. I ran. God help me. I ran. But even outside that church, even in the howling wind, the bell followed me, and in every toll, it spoke my name. Episode 3, Confession That Wasn't His Own. I didn't sleep that night. The Bible Saturday on my desk, its blackened leather cover glistening faintly in the candlelight, as though it were sweating every hour. I swore I heard it breathe. By dawn, I could no longer ignore it. I carried it to Saint. Augustine's parish, only church in town, still open, and placed it in front of Father Gabriel, the priest who'd known me since childhood. He frowned when he saw it. "Where did you find this?" "In the crypt of St. Jude's," I said. "Father, it knows things. It writes them." Father Gabriel chuckled dryly, the way men do when they're hiding fear. "Elias, it's just a book. Give it here." He opened it, and the smile died on his lips. The first verse appeared instantly, letters clawing their way across the page like scratches on bone. "Gabriel, son of no faith, the boy you left in the fire still screams." The color drained from his face. He staggered back. "Father," I whispered, "what is it talking about?" He slammed the book shut. "This is blasphemy. Burn it." "Nah." But the Bible had other plans. The cover snapped open by itself, and a new verse bled through the page, each word dripping as if written in fresh ink. "No flame can touch me, only confession." And then, the writing changed again. I watched in horror as a story unfolded, line by line. It wasn't mine. It wasn't anyone's I knew. It was his. The Bible began to describe a night 30 years ago, a fire in a remote orphanage, and a child Father Gabriel couldn't save, or didn't try to. He sank to his knees, trembling. No one knew. He whispered. The Bible answered him. I knew. The church door slammed shut on their own. Candles blew out, one by one, until only the Bible's pages glowed faintly in the dark. And then I heard it, a child's laughter. It echoed through the empty pews, sharp and broken, the sound of something that should not exist. Father Gabriel clutched the altar, his voice shaking. "Elias, get it away from me." But I couldn't move, because the Bible wasn't done. Episode 4, the words that bled. Father Gabriel's scream didn't sound human. He stumbled back from the altar, clutching his hands, smoke curling from his blistering skin. The Bible lay open before us, its pages trembling as though something beneath them wanted out. I should have run. I should have left him there. But then, the words began to change, again slowly, deliberately, as if savoring each stroke of ink. "Elias, hold him down." The letters dripped. At first, I thought it was ink, but when the first drop slid from the page and splashed onto the altar, I realized it was blood. "God help us," Father Gabriel rasped. The blood didn't stop. It seeped from the lines of scripture, running down the edges of the paper, pooling beneath the Bible as though it had veins of its own. The air grew heavy, metallic. I tasted iron on my tongue, and then the bell outside rang out. The Bible wrote again, "Confess or drown in me." Father Gabriel fell to his knees. I left him. He sobbed. The boy, I couldn't save him. I closed the door and ran. The blood on the page surged, flooding faster, almost as if the book was drinking his confession. The smell was unbearable. I grabbed Father Gabriel's shoulders, trying to pull him back, but the floor beneath the altar darkened, soaked through with crimson that wasn't there before. And it happened. The words on the page shifted, sharp and jagged, as if carved by a knife. Not enough. Father Gabriel's eyes went wide. "No, please." The blood rose from the book. I swear it lifted, defying gravity, twisting in the air like a serpent, before lashing out and striking him across the chest. He screamed, falling back, his cassock staining red in seconds. I did the only thing I could. I slammed the Bible shut. The blood flouncing midair, then fell, splattering across the floor. The silence that followed was worse than the screaming. Father Gabriel lay gasping, his eyes wild with terror. "Elias," he whispered, "burn it before it writes again." But I couldn't, because even with the cover closed, I felt it moving. The Bible was breathing, and deep in my mind, I heard the words written, but spoken, in a voice older than the church itself. One sin down, many to go. Episode 5, The Sin Mirror. Father Gabriel hadn't spoken since that night. He just sat in his rectory, staring at his burned hands, whispering prayers that didn't sound like prayers anymore. I should have left him there, but I couldn't, because the Bible was still with me. I tried locking it in a trunk. I even buried it in the churchyard. But every morning, I woke to find it sitting on my desk, its black leather damp with dew, as if it had crawled back to me. On the 5th night, I gave up. I opened it. The first verse didn't speak of my past this time. Elias, tomorrow you will lie. I stared at it, waiting for the words to fade. They didn't. No, I muttered. Not this time. I won't give it the satisfaction. But the Bible only bled more ink across the page. The letters stretching wider, bolder. You will lie, and she will bleed for it. My heart frowned. See, who was she? Before I could close it, the pages flipped violently, stopping at a passage I had never seen before. This one wasn't written in neat, ancient script. It was scroll-jagged and frantic. I know every sin you will commit. Look, the paper turned glassy. My reflection stared back at me from the page, but it wasn't me. Not exactly. I saw myself standing in Father Gabriel's rectory, holding the Bible like a weapon, and behind me woman, her face was blurred, but she was screaming, blood soaking her dress. I slammed the book shut. The image vanished, but that chill didn't. That night, I didn't sleep. I Saturday in the rectory with Father Gabriel, the Bible between us like a quilled snake. His voice trembled when he finally spoke. It's not just showing us the past, he whispered. It's writing the future. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because outside, the bell of St. Jude's tolled once more 3 slow, deliberate strikes. And this time, it wasn't my name the sound carried. It was hers. Episode 6. The Choir of Whispers. The bell's echo hadn't even faded when the voices began. At first, it was just one low, broken, and almost human, but then it multiplied, weaving into a dreadful chorus that filled every corner of St. Augustine's parish. They weren't singing, they were confessing. I lied, I stole, I burned her. The words scraped against my skull like nails on stone. I pressed my hands to my ears, but it didn't matter. The sound wasn't coming from the church, it was coming from the Bible. Father Gabriel stared at it, his eyes sunken and wild. They're the dead, he rasped. Every sin it's ever written, they're still in there. And then, the Bible opened by itself. The pages turned faster than my eyes could follow, whipping like a storm until they stopped. Blood welled up from the center crease, not dripping this time, but rising, lifting like threads in the air. Those threads twisted into shapes, into faces. I saw a boy with burned skin, weeping. I saw a woman with hollow eyes clutching a rosary made of bone. I saw down scenes, Marie, each one mouthing words I couldn't hear until they spoke in unison. Elias, you cannot change what is written. I stumbled back, heart pounding. Father Gabriel stepped forward instead, trembling but defiant. Then write me, he shouted. If you want blood, take mine. The Bible answered him. Yours is already promised. And then the voices, hundreds of them, laughed. The candlelight in the church guttered out, leaving only the red glow of the Bible's pages to paint the walls. Shadows twisted unnaturally long, stretching toward us like grasping fingers. Close it, I yelled, but Gabriel didn't move. He was staring at the book like a man seeing Judgment Day itself. I lunged forward and slammed it shut. The voices stopped, not gradually, instantly. The silence was worse. Father Gabriel's lips trembled. Elias, do you hear it? I listened, and deep within that Episode 7. The shadow behind the altar. I didn't want to turn around. That whisper low, steady, almost tender crawled up my spine like ice water. Father Gabriel stood frowning, his eyes locked on something behind me. His lips moved, but no sound came out. I turned. The altar was no longer empty. A shadow stood there, not cast, not shaped by light. It was born of nothing. A hollow silhouette with edges that bled into the air like smoke. And though it had no face, I knew it was looking at me. Elias. The voice came from everywhere at once, inside the walls, a floor, my chest. Father Gabriel clutched his crucifix, his hand shaking. In the name of Christ. The shadow laughed, not loud, not cruel, just amused. The Bible on the altar cracked open like a jaw. Its pages flipped violently, and words bled across the parchment faster than my eyes could read. I caught only fragments. The dead, the blood, the light that is coming. The shadow moved. It didn't walk, it slid, as if the world bent to make way for it. Every candle in the church flared and died, one by one, until only the glow of the bleeding pages remained. Father, I whispered, don't look at it. but Gabriel couldn't look away. His breath came in short, ragged bursts. Elias, its hands. I followed his gaze. The shadow was lifting its arms, and though it had no flesh, no form, I saw fingers, long, thin, reaching, and beneath it, the floorboards turned black, warping, splintering, as if rotting in its presence. Then the Bible wrote one more line, so slowly that each letter seemed carved in pain. Confess what you will do, or it will take her first. The same warning from before. The woman in the vision. No, I whispered. I won't let this happen. The shadow tilted its head mocking, curious like it was waiting. Father Gabriel grabbed my arm. His grip was ice cold. Elias, if it's showing you the future, maybe it's not asking. The shadow's hand brushed the altar, and though it bled. Episode 8, the name written in blood. The altar bled like an open wound. Thick rivulets of crimson crawled across the wood, soaking the Bible until its pages were slick and heavy. I could barely breathe. Father Gabriel clung to the crucifix, his lips moving in frantic, broken prayers. Then the Bible began to write, not in ink, in blood. The letters carved themselves onto the page, each stroke jagged and deliberate, as if made by an unseen blade. I leaned closer, my stomach twisting with dread. A name emerged, Mara. I didn't know her, but the moment I read it, the church doors slammed shut, the bell outside struck once, and I heard Ida scream, not in the church, not from the Bible, from somewhere far away, carried on a wind that shouldn't exist. Father Gabriel's face turned gray. Elias, it's begun. I flipped the page, desperate to tear the name out, to erase it, but more words bled onto the paper beneath it. She will bleed for your silence. My hands shook. You don't even know her. The Bible didn't care. The blood didn't stop. The shadow behind the altar stretched taller, its edges splitting into tendrils that slid along the floor like living ink. One of them brushed my boot. It was cold, not like winter cold, like grave cold. Elias, Father Gabriel rasped. If it writes her name, she's already marked. The only way to stop it. He didn't finish. The shadow moved. It crossed the altar in a single, impossible step, and every candle in the church exploded. I grabbed the Bible and clutched it to my chest, but the blood from the pages didn't stop. It was soaking through my shirt, hot as fire. Then I heard it, a voice, not the shadow, not Gabriel, a girl's voice. Help me. It came from the Bible, Mara, and in that moment, I understood. The book wasn't just predicting, it was calling her. Father Gabriel grabbed my arm. Elias, if you open it again, you let it in. But the screaming in the book was getting louder. And God help me, I opened it. Episode 9, when Mara answered. The moment I opened the Bible, the church frowned. See, no wind, no sound. Even the shadow behind the altar went still, like it was waiting. The pages didn't turn this time. They stayed open, trembling as if something was pressing against them from the other side. And then, the blood rose, not dripping, not spreading, rising. It shaped itself into letters again, each one trembling like a living thing. Mara is here. Father Gabriel's rosary slipped from his hands. Elias, close it, now. But before I could move, the candles lit themselves with a violent hiss. The pews groaned, and from the center of the aisle came the sound of bare feet on stone. I turned. She was there, a girl, no older than 20, wearing a torn white dress soaked at the hem. Her skin was pale, but not lifeless, looked as though she'd stepped out of a dream and into the church. Her eyes, however, were wrong. They were full of blood. Help, she whispered, just as I uttered in the book. I stepped forward before I could stop myself. Mara, her gaze snapped to mine, and for one terrible moment, her face twisted in pain, but in recognition, like she'd known me all her life. Father Gabriel yanked me back. That's not a girl. That's the book. Mara's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. She tilted her head, and then the Bible flipped another page on its own. New words bled through. Ask her what you will do. Elias, my heart stopped. Mara stepped closer. Her bare feet left bloody prints on the stone, but she didn't seem to notice. She reached for me, her fingers trembling. Don't, Gabriel hissed. If you touch her, it'll bind you to it. But her voice of God. Her voice was a prayer wrapped in desperation. If you don't ask, it'll be worse. I looked down at the Bible. The words shifted, as if impatient. One sin, one question, one answer. And for reasons I couldn't explain, I asked, "What will I do?" Mara smiled, and the blood on the page spelled it out. "You will kill me, and then you will beg to do it again." Episode 10. The First Sin. Mara didn't flinch when the words appeared. She just stood there, smiling that broken, knowing smileys if she had been waiting for this moment longer than I'd been alive. Father Gabriel gripped my arm so hard, it hurt. "Don't listen. The book lies. It twists what's true." But I wasn't sure anymore, because Mara's eyes, they weren't accusing. They were pleading. "Elias," she whispered, stepping closer. "Do it, before it writes worse." The Bible flipped again on its own, its pages slamming against the altar like the beating of a monstrous heart. Blood surged across the parchment, forming new words. "If you do not kill her, she will not be the first." The church groaned. The stained glass rattled, as if an unseen storm raged outside. But there was no wind, no rain, only the sound of the cursed book breathing between its verses. I turned to Gabriel. There has to be another way. But his face was pale and hollow, his faith hanging by a thread. "When it writes, it does not erase. Only action makes it stop." Mara tilted her head. Her blood-red eyes glimmered. "You know it's true," she said softly. I took a step back. "No, I won't. That Bible cut me off." The words dragged themselves across the page in one. Cruel strokes. "One will die tonight." Mara reached for me, not fast, not threatening, just reaching. And when her fingers brushed mine, I saw other death, not in the church, but in my hands. I saw myself holding her, the Bible watching, its pages turning like applause. I tore my hand away and stumbled back. "Elias," Gabriel barked. "Choose." The bell outside struck once, then twice. Mara smiled through tears. "Please." The Bible bled its final line for the night. "If not her, then you." I don't remember deciding. I just remember the scream and the silence that followed. When I looked down, Mara was on the ground. Her smile was gone. The Bible's pages were still. Father Gabriel knelt beside her, trembling. "God forgive us." But I couldn't pray, because on the next page, in blood that hadn't even dried yet, the Bible had already written another name, and it was mine. Episode 11. Written in my blood. My name stared back at me from the Bible's page. Not ink, not shadow. Blood, my blood. The letters pulsed faintly, as if the page itself was alive, breathing with a hunger I could almost hear. "Elias," Father Gabriel's voice cracked. He reached for the book but stopped short, his hand trembling. "We can't still fight this. We have to." The Bible flipped itself. A single verse sprawled across the next page. "You will bleed, and heaven will watch." I slammed it shut, but the sound echoed like a coffin closing, and in the silence that followed, I heard a faint laughter. Not Gabriel's, not mine, the same laughter that had haunted the church since the shadow first appeared. Mara's body lay near the altar, but her eyes were open. "Father," I whispered. Her eyes, they blinked. Gabriel stumbled back, clutching his crucifix so tightly the metal bent. No, she's dead." I finished. "I know," but Mara was moving, not her body, just her lips. No sound came out, but I could read the word as clear as if it had been carved into my skull. "Run." Before I could react, the candles flared, their flames stretching impossibly tall before shattering into black smoke. The church warped walls bending inward, the crucifix above the altar twisting until it hung upside down. And then the Bible opened on its own again. This time, there was no verse, just a sketch, a drawing in fresh blood, me, kneeling, a knife in my hand. "Elias," Gabriel's voice broke. "We burn it." Now, I wanted to agree. I wanted to end it, but the shadow behind the altar stirred, unfolding like a curtain of darkness, its form growing taller, wider, until it swallowed the wall. And then, in a voice that was not human, it spoke. "Try, and she will rise." Mara's head jerked toward me, Her jaw cracked as it moved, and a sound tore out of her throat, a laugh, wet and broken. I grabbed the Bible. My hands burned as if the leather was searing my skin, but I didn't care. "Elias," Gabriel shouted. "Don't." I opened it, and there it was. The final line, written in my blood. "If you burn me, you burn with me." And then, episode 12, the fire that wouldn't purify. The wind howled through the church doors, like the breath of 8,000 unseen mouths. I held the Bible in both hands, its leather cover hot as if it were alive, and dragged it to the altar. Father Gabriel followed, clutching a brass censer filled with burning coals, his face pale but resolute. "This is our only chance," he said. "If fire can't cleanse it, nothing can." But the Bible seemed to hear him. The pages trembled, blood seeped from his spine, running down my fingers like it was laughing through every vein. "Do it," I whispered. Gabriel tipped the censer. The coals clattered onto the altar, flames licking up hungrily, the smell of incense mixed with smoke, until the air felt thick enough to drown in. I threw the Bible into the fire and waited for it to scream. Instead, it sang. A low, guttural hum rose from the flames, vibrating through the walls, the floor, my bones. The fire didn't consume the book, it bent around it, burning brighter but never touching the pages. The blood on the cover bubbled but never dried. Then the words appeared again, searing themselves into the air above the fire like smoke that refused to fade. "You cannot burn scripture written in sin." Gabriel dropped the censer and stumbled back. "God help us." The church groaned like a dying beast. Mara's body twitched on the ground. Her head turned toward us, and her lips toes pale, dead, lips moved. "Elias." I backed away from the altar, my eyes locked on her. No, she's gone." But she wasn't. Her voice came again, louder now. "It's not the book, it's the altar. Break the altar." The shadow behind it stirred, stretching higher, its fingers scraping the ceiling like claws. The Bible rose from the flames on its own, untouched, its pages fluttering like wings. Then it wrote, "Break it, and you see what waits beneath." Gabriel grabbed my arm. "Elias, that's what it wants." I looked from him to Mara, to the Bible bleeding words that felt older than God. The shadow leaned closer, grinning without a mouth, and I lifted the hammer. Episode 13. Beneath the altar. The hammer felt heavier than any weapon I had ever held. Father Gabriel's hand gripped my wrist. His eyes, hollow with fear, begged me to stop. "Elias," he whispered, "if you strike it, there's no turning back." But the Bible was already writing. The blood formed a single phrase across its open page, each letter pulsing like a heartbeat. "Strike IT, or IT will claim you." I raised the hammer. The shadow behind the altar leaned forward as though expecting it. Mara's lifeless body shifted on the ground, her eyes fixed on me, and for one awful moment, I swore I saw her lips curve into a faint, approving smile. I swung. The hammer hit the altar with a sound like bone shattering. The wood cracked, splinters bursting outward. On the second strike, the church shook so violently that the stained glass windows screamed. And on the third, the altar broke. A roaring from any throat of this earth erupted beneath us. The ground split open, vomiting dust and the stench of rot. Then I saw it, a stairwell. It wasn't built of stone, but of bones fused together, spiraling downward into blackness so deep it looked endless. At the bottom, faintly, something glowed red like a wound that had never healed. Gabriel stumbled back, clutching his crucifix. No, this is not holy ground. This is. The Bible floated above the broken altar, its pages turning furiously, until it stopped on one verse written in blood so thick it dripped onto the shattered floor. "The root of every sin lies below." Mara's voice rose from the stairwell, soft and broken. "Elias, come down." I frowned. See, my heart hammered against my ribs. Gabriel grabbed me. "Don't listen to it. That's not her. That's what killed her." But when I looked into the abyss, I didn't see just darkness. I saw myself, kneeling, holding the Bible, and smiling. The shadow crept closer, towering over us until episode 14, the stairs of bone. The first step roamed beneath my weight. It wasn't stone, I screamed, a sharp, wet sound, as if the stair itself was alive. I gripped the Bible tighter, Behind me, Father Gabriel clung to the doorway of the broken altar, his voice trembling. Elias, don't go down there. But Mara's whisper floated up from the abyss, sweet and steady, the same way it had when she begged me to kill her. Come, Elias, it's been waiting for you. I descended. Each step was colder than the last, the air heavy with the copper taint of old blood. The walls were walls at all, but ribs massive, curved, and fused together, as though the church had been built inside the skeleton of something that once lived. The Bible quivered in my hands, its pages turning on their own until they revealed a single verse, written in fresh, glistening blood. You Washington LK on every sin ever spoken. Gabriel's voice faded above me. His prayers grew distant, swallowed by the dark. The deeper I went, the louder another sound grew, weeping. It wasn't Mara. It wasn't human. It was thousands of voices, all crying at once, layered until it became a single, unbearable wail. Then I saw it, the bottom of the stairs, a vast chamber stretched before me, lit by a red glow that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. In the center stood a massive altar carved from bone and sinew, its surface covered with open Bibles, search one different, each one bleeding, and behind it, a figure. It was neither man nor beast. Its face was hidden beneath a hood of skin stitched shut, but its hands-long, skeletal things rested on the altar as if guarding it. The Bible in my hands wrote again, faster now, the words slashing across the page. Northeast L, and IT will teach you. The figure's head tilted, slowly, too slowly, and from the darkness, Mara's voice. Episode 15, The Gospel Beneath God. I stood on the final step. The figure did not move. Its hooded head remained bowed, its hands resting on the altar of bone, waiting it with rage, but with a patience older than time itself. The chamber was silent now. Even the weeping had stopped, as if the whole world was holding its breath. The Bible in my hands bled. A single line carved itself across the page, each letter drawn slow, deliberate. Northeast L, and learn what even he feared. I should have run. I should have prayed. But the glow around the altar pulled me closer, and my knees buckled before I even realized I was moving. When they touched the ground, the figure finally raised its head. The hood tore apart, and I saw nothing. No face, no eyes, only a void so deep it felt like it was staring through me, hollowing me out, making room for something else. The Bibles on the altar opened at once, their pages fluttering like 1,000 wings, the air filled with whispers, confessions, every sin ever spoken, every secret ever buried, and above it all, one voice rose, vast and merciless. In the beginning, there Washington's no God. I clutched my Bible tighter, but it was no longer mine. The blood on its pages wasn't just ink, it was pouring from my hands. My name vanished from the cover. In its place appeared something worse. Scribe. The figure leaned closer, its mouthless void stretched wide, and it spoken it in words, but in meaning. You will write for me now. No, I whispered, but my hand moved on its own. The quill of bone on the altar slid between my fingers. My Bible opened to a blank page, waiting, and I wrote. I wrote without choice, without thought, each word spilling in my blood. Names, places, fates. Father Gabriel's voice echoed faintly from above, calling my name. It was too far away, too late. When I finished the last line, the figure touched my forehead with one skeletal finger, and then I understood. This wasn't a Bible, not really. It was older than Scripture, older than heaven. It didn't belong to God. It belonged to what came before him. The last thing I saw before the chamber swallowed me was my own reflection in the blood-soaked pages, and I was smiling because I had just written the next verse.
Epilogue, the verse that reads you. They found the church empty. Father Gabriel was gone. Mara's body was gone. Even the altar, shattered, splintered, was nothing but dust. But the Bible was there, waiting. They carried it to the rectory, locking it in a glass case, sealing it with holy oil. The priests prayed over it for 3 nights straight. But the pages never stopped turning. They didn't move fast, only one at a time, like it was waiting for someone new. And then, last night, it stopped. On a single, blank page. I saw it with my own eyes. The blood came slow, curling across the paper in letters too deliberate to be chance. It spelled a name. Not mine. Yours. The candlelight flickered. And I swear I heard it whisper from behind the glass. Every reader becomes a verse. Now the page is still. But the ink is wet. And if you lean close enough, you'll hear it breathing. And maybe, just maybe, your name is already in the next line.